with it. I mean, it's a given.
Okay, thank you.
On the subject of power, is there anything that would prohibit off-the-grid renewable resources like solar power?
I do not believe anything would limit that.
You can't currently power three-phase 480 very efficiently with solar. So running a chairlift off of solar is, I mean, it's not that it's not possible, but it's like Tesla level stuff. Not just the other stuff is really challenging at those voltages and those limits.
But it is something that could be lifted.
Any other?
Snowmaking is the same thing. You've got to have power to those little nozzles out there. That's what I see Teton needs more than anything, power. That's not going to be real feasible. Just to haul your fuel up there all the time is an expense.
What about solar?
If we could get something coming from the national, a grant or something to our little ski hill, that would be amazing.
So again, this is what's awesome and amazing about having this conversation with everybody, is we bring up conversation and topics that we can look into further and find out, is there a source, on the national level to support a community infrastructure going up for something like that? And those are questions I can help answer.
I came out of the battery industry. I worked there for 20 some odd years, and I can tell you that the thing that you mentioned on running a ski lift, the inrush that's required to start that ski lift every time it starts and stops would require a battery bank that would be an investment that would be incredible. And that's an expendable item too. And every 10 to 15 years, you're out there replacing a battery bank, which would make the cost of a genset look insignificant.
Any other questions at this point, or? I don't think so.
I'd just like to know if Discovery is finding that mountain biking is going to be something that is like sustainable as in the same way as skiing and snowboarding.
I think right now that industry is really immature in the United States.
Right.
You can look in Canada, and there are a lot of successful businesses up there that where it does look really sustainable. I think it's unclear, for sure. I mean, I'm a believer in it. I'm definitely a believer in it. I think that it has a long-term future. I think that you have to treat it as its own individual business that you invest in and care about. And where people can really get themselves into trouble with mountain biking is thinking, well, if we turn our lifts and let people bring their bikes up there, they're going to like it. I think you have to work on creating a mountain bike area with trails dedicated for mountain biking, bike rentals, bike schools, so it's an entire other level of investment. The place where you can gain some efficiency, though, is the investment that you would normally put in to get a chairlift would be too expensive to afford for a mountain bike operation altogether. But if you can find a ski area operation that can pay for the initial infrastructure, and then have the bike receipts just pay for the bike operation, I think that's viable. And I think it's sustainable, but I know there's a lot of other people in the ski industry that would disagree.
What about zip lining? Whoop! Something that would be allowed by the Forest Service? Whitefish does it.
That's not in the master plan right now, but, zip lining within that controlled environment would probably be something we could look at.
So it seems like, one thing that people are thinking about tonight is how to grow the revenue stream going forward, and a lot of smart people have been thinking for a lot of years about how to do that. And I know Jan mentioned something about a feasibility study earlier, but it seems like one really helpful next step would be to get kind of more granular market research information on kind of what are the most feasible opportunities to grow revenue stream, whether it's diversifying or kind of doubling down on the business model that's in place now. So I don't know if Jan or Meryl can say a little bit more about what kind of resources to think about for a feasibility study, whether grant or private resources, because that does seem like maybe one really helpful next step.
one that comes to mind right now that I actually floated was a rural business development grant. That program is open right now with the 30th of April deadline. That will fund a feasibility study in the 50,000 range. No match is required, but match is a good idea for competitive purposes for that grant. But it is specifically for planning purposes and hiring of the proper winter sports consultant for that kind of thing. But that is a grant that the Port Authority can be the applicant. We can help develop and submit right in Great Falls. And it's competed at the state level, not the national level, which makes your chances of getting it greater. However, you wouldn't know about it till August or September. So that would be the only drawback, is the timing. Having other money is faster, but not always easier. But do you have another idea?
Yeah, and then I think another opportunity is to look at some kind of partnership model. And the Forest Service and the National Forest Foundation recently cooperated to do a feasibility study with a private firm for a different type of recreation infrastructure in another location. So that's something that potentially could be explored in this case, and that potentially could happen on a faster time frame, but you would need to have some investment to support the private analysis.
And when we say the estimated to hire a private firm for a feasibility study, we're looking between $20,000 and $50,000, somewhere in that mark. Thank you guys. You guys are amazing, by the way. Thank you, and thank you, and thank you for being here to answer questions and help the conversation. Maybe I'll turn it over to Mary here as Port Authority.
Well, I think we've gotten a lot of information out there, and you certainly had a lot of questions. And as I said at the beginning, what's next? And I guess, to my mind, just listening to things here, there's 2 or 3 different ways. And I will certainly put a sign-up sheet for those of you that want to stay informed of what's going on. Maybe it's really time for a work group or something like that to get together and say, let's explore a co-op, let's explore a for-profit. I mean, obviously there's been some interest in for-profit and ownership, or maybe looking at a nonprofit. And that could be a group of folks that say, hey, we want to look into some of these things. The first one that I think would be the easiest is, a group of folks here that would work with the Port Authority to get a feasibility study done. Because right now, when somebody comes to look at the ski area, they have some numbers. And I know, as Jim has said, there's some from the past 7, 8 years. But they might want to know a little more information about operations, what is feasible, what is going to be required. And if you want to do some mountain biking, if you want to do some of these other things, a feasibility study can help get that information out, whether you decide to go with a co-op or a nonprofit or a for-profit, a corporation or an individual owner. So it seems to me that feasibility study would be of value in trying to move forward to get something viable for the ski area. Does that make sense to folks? And I think for that, we would need to have a group from here of folks like a Dan Naylor, who's been around forever. No, I'm kidding, Dan, not quite. I actually asked Dan to come here tonight to say, if we need any history, Dan can give you history, although there are other history people here. Clay can do history. Jim Bielen can do history. I know there's a lot of us can do history. But we need folks who are familiar with the ski area and who would work with a consultant and with the Port Authority to do a feasibility study. Now, again, I'm willing to work, I think the Port Authority, we're willing to work, whether it's with the Co-op Development Center or with Merrill here, to get some funding for it, the $20,000 to $50,000. Whether it's through the grant, which takes a little bit longer, and we might want to try and find another way to get it open next year, because we really would like to have it open next year. But are there some folks who would be interested in helping? And I can put up a sign-up sheet if you don't want to raise your hand right now, but does that sound like something some of you would like to work with or work to help us with? I'm seeing some nods out there, okay?
Mary?
Yes.
George?
Yes.
I just have a comment.
Yes, okay, George. George is the owner-operator of Showdown Ski Area.
I work for the bank, you guys. That's all. This business, the ski business and the recreation business, is a labor of love. It has nothing to do with putting money in your pocket. It has to do with enjoying what you're doing and making it work so the guests keep coming. And these things are all great talks, and God bless Mike, but, you know, the Forest Service keeps stepping on things, so it's a little harder to do it, a little more expensive, and on and on and on. And unless the community is willing to come up with some cash and make this thing happen, and then everybody get together like Clay's folks did back in the old days, you know? Jim got up, plowed the damn road, and then somebody else started the lift, and then somebody else went to the bathroom and made sure the toilet paper was in place.
That was
That was Clay. And so it just is just not going to happen unless everybody is invested in being part of it and making it happen. And I applaud everybody for coming because it's so cool to see all the interest and stuff. But it's a tough business. And, you know, last year we had the second worst year in 45 years. I mean, I just about committed Harry Carey. But, you know, this year's just been great. So things are good and you come back. But unless you really enjoy what you're doing, you're not going to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and plow the road and do the ski report and that kind of stuff. And now there's a new ANSI B77 that's going to have some effect on your lift and getting it go again. I'm not sure what that is, but you know, you should look at that too, because the Forest Service isn't just going to sign off on the old rules. They've got new rules to live by. So it's really fun to see everybody here because skiing and outdoor recreation is fun. I don't know where the hell CJ got in the mountain bike business, but he's got way more money than I do. But please just think about that because once you commit, you know, somebody's going to have to be there. Maybe it's you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, George, and that was just the pep talk that we needed. So if do you have other ideas and next steps? These are just things that I'm throwing out there is that we can have a sign up here, or if you want to volunteer to be part of the feasibility study. Now, that's probably only 5 or 6 people
One thing I'd
to
say,
work with us. Yes,
Mary,
yes.
so
CJ.
before I got in the ski business, I was a banker, and I can tell you that both in the banking business and the ski business, there are failed businesses that are attached to successful feasibility studies. And one thing that people who do feasibility studies, they tend to be a little bit optimistic. And I think you might have better success if you ask them questions about not is the business feasible, but what is the revenue that you think we could generate here? Just that question. Don't because you can figure out the expenses based on the historical stuff, and that way you can maybe get a clearer picture where they aren't telling you, yeah, this works or it doesn't, because those numbers are pretty ambiguous either way.
And I think our steering committee could help us, you know, focus more on what we want from a feasibility study and maybe business plan as well. Other ideas of what we could do structurally kind of to get this moving. I mean, tomorrow some guy might come, some family or somebody might come up to Jim and say, hey, I'm buying the ski area. That would be great. We'd all be very happy. But it may not happen, and that's one reason we're here tonight, because you know, we would like to get things going. So any ideas other than sort of these things? We've got the study and maybe a potential business plan, a small group, a larger group perhaps of folks that are here tonight that want to do what, I mean, as George said, it takes kind of a village, a lot of people with a lot of dedication to get things going. And that would be kind of the work group. Maybe wants to look at a co-op, maybe wants to look at a nonprofit or putting a corporation together. And then I'd be very happy that those of you that are here that want to be informed, we send out emails. We have an email list if you want to be in our email list in order to be informed of what's going on. We can certainly do that. Again, the Port Authority will help facilitate whatever it is that you would like to move forward on. So other ideas on what you'd like to do from tonight's meeting? Yes, Steve?
Hi, Mary. So I'm also on the Port Authority. And for what it's worth, I will put a form to sign up for, if you want more information, if you want to sign up to be part of one of these committees, it'll be on our Choteau Port Authority Facebook page.
Oh, great. So I don't have to do a sheet of paper tonight. Hallelujah.
Well, we might want to do one.
Do both. Let's do both.
We'll do both. No, we'll put up a sheet tonight if you want to be informed. I also would like to do the sheet that if you want to be involved directly with how things go forward, like a co-op or a nonprofit or perhaps a for-profit. and then feasibility study. Other things you'd like to get out of this meeting?
So come with a brewery?
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that could be
We'd like to have one here in Choteau. We've been working on it.
Teton Pass Brewing too?
Yes, Tom.
Does that fit into the master plan?
If there's enough water.
You can convince me.
Yeah!
I'd like to give you a little history on Teton Pass. And in my opinion, we opened in August of 1966. And then we started with a mighty lift. And then after a couple of years, we bought a pommel lift. And as time went on in 1973, we put in the chairlift. Now, skiing is not a set amount of a market. It's just like George says, the weather can kill you, and the economy, it kills you. And here in Choteau, what I've seen of it through all the years we've had that, is that the economy has changed. We used to open for $2 a ticket. Just to give an example of what happened, my sons were in Big Sky last week. Tickets $139 a day each. And anyway, our economy has changed, and a dollar's not worth as much, and that's what hurts you. You don't have a built-in economy because the people you have to have customers. How many are you going to have this year? 2,000? 6,000? The biggest year we ever had was 1,300 skier days in about 1978. And the economy started changing, your dollar buys less, and it's just one hell of a tough business. We started this business by 5 of us got together and decided we ought to have one. We sold stock, which I'd be glad to sell to anybody in here. And everything was pretty much volunteer, even the snow plowing. Yeah.
Thank you, Tom. Yeah. Well, you heard some from the past, some from the present, and the future is kind of in your hands. So do you have any other suggestions on what we might be able to get from this group? Money, yeah, I know, I should pass the hat around. Well, by putting your name down, that's kind of like passing the hat around. So I'm going to put up 3 sheets out there, and just wait a second so that I can get them probably on the beverage table there. And one would just be if you want more information, and all I'm doing is name and email. And the other one would be if you'd like to really be involved as kind of a working group. And once we have those emails, we'll put them together and ask someone to be in charge of that. And then you can get your group together if you want to do it on Skype, if you want to do it as a conference call or whatever, and explore some of these things. Or if you have more questions that you want to ask of Mike or CJ or Jan, you can do that. And then we really do need about 5 people, so please sign your name if you're willing to help and have some experience with the ski area and what you'd like to see in a feasibility study and a marketing plan. And also, as indicated by CJ, absolutely, is you need to just get some revenue estimates out there and have a good third-party look at that. So is there anything else for the good of so many of you folks that came today?
Mary, I have handouts of what I had in
Okay,
case anyone wants.
thank
Can I
you.
put it back there?
Sure, that'd be great. And Jan has volunteered in talking that if we can't find some private money to get this feasibility study done quicker, she will help us write the grant. It's due the end of April. So the folks that are on the steering committee, you're going to be put to work pretty darn soon, because whether it's a grant that we apply for or we start looking with Merrill and some private funding, you're going to have to hurry up and do it. The other thought is, and we've thrown this out there kind of in talking, maybe if there's enough interest, we could work with Nick to either lease or getting to open again next year, because some of these things might not fall in place soon enough. So that's another thing that if, say, the work group wants to talk to Jim and say, hey, Jim, can we work with Nick? We're trying to get funding together, we're trying to get a structure together. That's another possibility, because I know Jim's willing to work with us in any way. So anything else that you have? It's almost 2 hours, and after 2 hours we all turn into pumpkins.
What a cheaper price for the skier.
Well, hopefully that could be, there are ways that could happen. Jim would think so, and I think a lot of us think so too. Yeah. So I think with that, would you like? And I know that Rachel is still willing to help and work with us and all these things. How about some comments from you, and I'll get these sheets out there. Don't leave until the sheets are out.
Anyway, yes, thank you so much for coming. I'm loving seeing this whole community here. And again, I'm here to help you and work with you on this. And yay, I'm going to go head over and have a beer if anybody would like to come over and chat. You've inspired me in the front row. And again, everybody drive safe. And thank you so much. And sign up over there.